What if I told you that the modern skylines of cities like Shanghai and Hong Kong were built on the ambitions of a handful of rival Jewish dynasties? Often called the Rothschilds of the East, these families fled persecution in Baghdad and went on to create some of the most powerful business empires in Asian history. From building vast trade networks to helping rescue refugees, their stories are a complex tapestry of ambition, wealth, and controversy. But before we start, it's important to be clear. Creating a definitive ranked richest list is pretty much impossible. Many of these families are intensely private, their fortunes are scattered across generations, and their peak influence often happened in different centuries. So think of this countdown as a carefully assembled story, blending historical dominance with modern-day power to explore Asia's most influential Jewish dynasties. Our journey begins in colonial India, a world of untold opportunity and risk. Number 10. The Shelem family. Our list kicks off with a name deeply connected to the colossal Sassoon dynasty, the Shelem family. They represent the vast network of Baghdadi Jewish talent that powered Asia's colonial economy. While they aren't a multi-billion-dollar empire today, their story is a crucial chapter in this larger history. The Shelems, like many others on our list, were part of the Baghdadi Jewish diaspora that followed the opportunities opened up by the British Empire. Their rise is embodied by one key figure, Edward Shelem. He was the nephew of the legendary Elias David Sassoon, the man who took the Sassoon family's operations in China to incredible new heights. Starting as a manager in the Hong Kong branch of David Sassoon & Co., Shelem quickly proved he had a brilliant mind for business. He didn't just work for the Sassoons, he became a pillar of every Hong Kong commercial world. His influence was huge. He rose to become the chairman of the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, better known as HSBC. Basically, if you moved, banked, or lived in early 20th century Hong Kong, your life was touched by a business Edward Shelem helped lead. His career shows a critical pattern. The Sassoons didn't just build an empire for themselves, they created an ecosystem where trusted relatives and fellow Baghdadi Jews could thrive, manage key assets, and build their own fortunes. The Shelems were key lieutenants in this grand commercial army. Number 9. The Gubbe family. Coming in at number 9 is another prominent Baghdadi Jewish family who moved in the highest circles of Asian trade, often working with and sometimes competing against the other great dynasties, the Gubbe family. Their story shows incredible reach, with family members setting up shop in India, Singapore, and Shanghai, creating a powerful interconnected business network. After migrating from Baghdad in the 19th century, the Gubbes established themselves mainly in Calcutta and Bombay. Along with the Sassoons and Ezras, they became major players in the lucrative and controversial trades of the era, like indigo, textiles, and opium. In Calcutta, Elias Shalom Gubbe became a leading merchant and a massive real estate investor. But his influence wasn't just commercial. He was appointed as an honorary magistrate and served on the Legislative Assembly, showing how deeply the family was integrated into the civic life of British India. The Gubbes were masters of the family network. They stayed in constant contact with relatives across the British Empire, from London to Hong Kong. This wasn't just social, it was strategic. A Gubbe in one city could rely on the trust and cooperation of a Gubbe in another, creating a smooth and highly efficient global trading operation. Their influence even reached the very heart of the Sassoon Empire itself. Aaron Moses Gubbe managed the firm of David Sassoon & Co. in both Bombay and Paris, and his son later went on to head the entire firm in England. This deep connection shows how these families weren't just operating in the same space. They were intermarried, intertwined, and essential to each other's success. Number 8. The Hardoon family. At number 8, we have one of the most astonishing rags-to-riches tales in Asian history, centered on a larger-than-life figure who became, for a time, one of the wealthiest men in Asia. This is the story of Silas Aaron Hardoon and the Hardoon family of Shanghai. Silas Hardoon was born into a poor Jewish family in Baghdad in 1851. Like many others, his family sought a better life in Bombay before he arrived in Shanghai as a young man with almost nothing to his name. He started at the very bottom, working as a rent collector and warehouse watchman for the dominant trading house, David Sassoon & Co. But Hardoon had a razor-sharp eye for real estate and an incredible business mind. He soon struck out on his own, investing in property just as Shanghai was starting its meteoric rise. His timing was perfect. Hardoon was a major developer and landlord on Nanjing Road, which would become Shanghai's premier glittering commercial boulevard, the equivalent of New York's Fifth Avenue. His fortune became immense, with some estimates placing it in the billions in today's money at the time of his death. Hardoon's life was as unique as his fortune. He married a Eurasian Buddhist woman named Lo Jia Ling, and while he kept his Jewish identity, he became deeply integrated into Chinese society. The couple had no biological children, but adopted numerous others from various backgrounds. His philanthropy was just as eclectic. He built the magnificent Beth Aharon Synagogue in Shanghai as a gift to the Jewish community, but he was also a major patron of Buddhist causes. The end of the Hardoon dynasty was as dramatic as its rise. When Silas died in 1931, he left his entire fortune to his wife, sparking years of legal battles from relatives. His wife eventually won, but died in 1941. The final blow came in 1949 when the communist takeover of China led to the government seizing the family's vast assets. The Hardoon Empire, once a dominant force in Shanghai, was wiped out, a stark reminder of how political tides can erase even the greatest of fortunes. Belilios family. In the shadow of the great Sassoon and Kaduri dynasties of Hong Kong lies the story of our seventh family, a clan whose influence was so great that they once stood as rivals to the city's biggest players. This is the story of Emmanuel Raphael Belilios and the Belilios family. Born in Calcutta in 1837, Belilios arrived in Hong Kong in 1862 with a cargo of opium, planning to make a quick profit and go home. He never left. Belilios quickly established himself as one of the colony's most formidable merchants. His firm, E.R. Belilios & Co., was a major player in the opium trade, but his ambitions went beyond that. He soon became a central figure in Hong Kong's financial scene. He served as the chairman of HSBC for 6 years, from 1876 to 1882, a term that cemented his position at the top of the city's financial elite. He was also involved in early hotel and property ventures, including a precursor to the company that would eventually evolve into the modern Hong Kong and Shanghai hotels, now controlled by the Kaduris. His power wasn't just economic. He was appointed to the Legislative Council, where he was known for his progressive views. For a time, Belilios even rivaled the mighty Sassoons for leadership of the local Sephardic Jewish community. His philanthropy was legendary, and his legacy is still visible today. He founded the Belilios Public School, which still exists and thrives in Hong Kong. Though his family name isn't as globally recognized today, Emmanuel Belilios was a true titan of colonial Hong Kong who helped lay the groundwork for the modern metropolis. Number 6. The Ezra family. Our sixth spot takes us back to India, specifically to Calcutta, now Kolkata. Here, one family became so dominant in real estate that they literally shaped the city's skyline. This is the Ezra family, the undisputed property moguls of British Calcutta. Like their peers, the Ezras were a Baghdadi Jewish family who came to India to seek their fortune. While they were involved in the opium and indigo trades, their real genius was in property. The patriarch, David Joseph Ezra, had the foresight to pour his trading profits into land and development in Calcutta, a city that was quickly becoming the commercial heart of the British Empire in Asia. The family's holdings were simply staggering. They built and owned some of Calcutta's most iconic Victorian buildings, including the magnificent Esplanade Mansions, Choringi Mansions, and Ezra Mansions. An entire street was named after the family, a clear sign of their influence. David Joseph Ezra wasn't just a landlord, he was a city builder. The Ezra family also became leaders of Calcutta's growing Jewish community. In 1884, David's son, Elias Ezra, built the Magen David Synagogue in memory of his father, a landmark that still stands today as a jewel of the city's architecture.
Later generations continued this legacy of leadership and philanthropy. Sir David Elias Ezra, grandson of the founder, was knighted in 1927, served as the Sheriff of Calcutta, and was even a director of the Reserve Bank of India. While their influence faded after the colonial era, for nearly a century, the Ezra family were the undisputed real estate kings of Calcutta, leaving a permanent mark on the city.
Number 5. The Meyer family. For our fifth family, we travel to the island nation of Singapore, where one man's vision transformed him from a teenage immigrant into one of the most powerful figures in the colony's history. This is the story of Sir Manasseh Meyer and the Meyer family. Born in Baghdad in 1846 and educated in Calcutta, Manasseh Meyer arrived in Singapore in 1861 when he was just 15. He returned for good in 1873 and founded an import-export business called Meyer Brothers. Like others, the foundation of his wealth came from the opium trade, which was legal and encouraged by the British. But Meyer was a shrewd entrepreneur who knew that true, lasting wealth wasn't in trade, but in land. He began pouring his profits into real estate, and his timing was impeccable. As Singapore boomed, so did his fortune. While the popular legend that he owned 3/4 of the island is likely an exaggeration, he did become one of Singapore's largest private landowners, an incredible concentration of wealth. He owned iconic buildings like the Adelphi Hotel and the Seaview Hotel, and the road it stood on still bears his name, Meyer Road. But Meyer wasn't just a tycoon, he was the undisputed leader and benefactor of Singapore's Jewish community. He almost single-handedly financed Singapore's two main synagogues, the Magain Aboth Synagogue and the Chesed El Synagogue. His philanthropy also extended to the wider community with major donations to Raffles College, a forerunner of the National University of Singapore. In 2019, he was knighted by King George V for his immense contributions. Sir Manasseh Meyer's story shows how one person, through incredible foresight and ambition, could build an empire that would help shape a nation. Number 4. The Safra family. At number 4, we have a family that represents a different kind of power, not of trade or real estate, but of private, global finance. This is the Safra family, a legendary and intensely private Jewish banking dynasty whose influence extends deep into Asia. The Safra story doesn't begin in Baghdad, but in Aleppo, Syria, where the family financed camel caravans during the Ottoman Empire. This ancient banking DNA was carried into the modern era by the family's patriarch, Jacob Safra. He moved the family's operations first to Beirut and then, in a pivotal move in 1952, to Brazil. From their new base in South America, the Safras built one of the world's most formidable and secretive banking empires, with major hubs in Switzerland and New York. While their core operations are not based in Asia, their financial tentacles reach across the continent. Safra-owned banks and investment firms manage the assets of many of Asia's wealthiest individuals and corporations. They are the bankers to the billionaires, the discreet custodians of immense fortunes. Unlike the Sassoons or Kaduris who built tangible empires in Asia, the Safras built an invisible empire of capital. Their wealth is estimated in the tens of billions, but the true figure is a closely guarded secret. Joseph Safra, who passed away in 2020, was for a time the world's richest banker. The family operates with a legendary emphasis on security and discretion. Their presence in Asia is less about building cities and more about financing the people who do, making them one of the most powerful, if unseen, financial forces on the continent. Number 3. The Mystery family. Our third spot is occupied by a family that, while not Jewish, is so deeply intertwined with the business networks of Asia that their story is inseparable from them. This is the Mystery family, a Parsi dynasty from India whose Shapoorji Pallonji group is one of the largest conglomerates in the region. The Parsis, like the Baghdadi Jews, are a small religious minority who fled persecution in their homeland, in their case, Persia, and found refuge and immense success in India. The Mystery family's construction business was founded in the 19th century and grew into a diversified behemoth with interests in real estate, infrastructure, textiles, and more. So what's their connection to our story? The Mysteries operated in the same commercial ecosystem as the great Jewish families like the Sassoons. They were part of a trusted minority network in British India, where community and reputation were everything. Their business dealings often involved the same Baghdadi Jewish merchants and financiers that dominated the ports of Bombay and beyond. The Mystery family's greatest source of wealth, however, comes from their single largest asset, a massive stake in Tata Sons, the holding company of the Tata Group. This stake, which has stood at around 18.4% and is worth tens of billions of dollars, makes them the largest individual shareholder in India's most respected conglomerate. For decades, the late patriarch Palonji Mistry was known as the Phantom of Bombay for his quiet, non-interventionist influence. The family's story highlights a crucial aspect of business in Asia, the power of interconnected minority communities. While the Mysteries are Parsi, their rise runs parallel to and often intersects with the great Jewish dynasties. Number 2. The Sassoon family. Before the Kadoris, before the modern billionaires, one family stood so far above the rest, they were known by a single awe-inspiring title: the Rothschilds of the East. At number 2, we have the historical giants, the dynasty that pioneered the model for building an Asian empire, the Sassoon family. Their story begins in the early 1830s when the family patriarch, David Sassoon, a leading Jewish figure in Baghdad, fled persecution and settled in Bombay. From there, he built a global trading enterprise of staggering proportions. His masterstroke was his 8 sons, whom he placed in charge of business outposts stretching from London to Yokohama, all communicating in a shared dialect that was indecipherable to competitors. The engine of the Sassoon fortune was one of the most controversial commodities in history: opium. Britain wanted to force Indian opium on China to balance its trade deficit from tea imports, and the Sassoons became the primary private merchants for this trade. They dominated the business, which, while legal and protected by the British military, was morally fraught and led to wars that crippled China. They were so strongly identified with the trade that poppy motifs often appeared on their company branding. But they were far more than just traders. They diversified into textiles, shipping, and finance. While not principal founders of the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, or HSBC, the Sassoon firm was a hugely important early client, helping to finance the growing trade between Europe and Asia. David's son, Elias Sassoon, expanded the family's operations into China, famously building up the Shanghai Bund and creating the iconic Sassoon House, now part of the Peace Hotel. The family's wealth was immense, with some speculative estimates putting it in the tens of billions in today's dollars. The dynasty's decline was as dramatic as its rise. Later generations, raised as English aristocrats, lost the founders' relentless drive. They became more interested in horse racing and high society than in running the business. Bad bets on Shanghai right before the Communist Revolution proved fatal. The Chinese government seized their assets, and the once mighty empire crumbled. Yet their legacy remains. They were immense philanthropists, building schools, hospitals, and synagogues across Asia. For a century, they were the undisputed kings of Asian commerce. Number 1. The Kadori family. And now for the number 1 most powerful and resilient Jewish family business in Asia today. While the Sassoons built a global empire and faded, this family played the long game, survived every political earthquake, and built a dynasty that has outlasted empires. This is the story of the Kadori family. With wealth estimates often placing them in the tens of billions of dollars, the Kadoris are not just a rich family, they are an institution in their home base of Hong Kong. Like the Sassoons, the Kadoris were Baghdadi Jews who started in Bombay. In fact, the patriarchs, brothers Eli and Ellis Kadori, began their careers as clerks working for the Sassoon Company. But where the Sassoons became distracted by the glamour of London, the Kadoris made a brilliant move. They shifted their focus to Hong Kong and Shanghai. This focus, especially on Hong Kong, allowed them to survive the revolution in China that wiped out the Sassoon's mainland assets. From their secure base in British-controlled Hong Kong, the Kadoris built an empire based not on the shifting sands of trade, but on the bedrock of infrastructure. Elie Kadori realized that as Hong Kong grew, it would need power. In 1901, he co-founded China Light and Power. Today, CLP Group supplies electricity to about 80% of Hong Kong's population and is a major investor in energy projects across Asia. They literally power the city. But their empire extends far beyond utilities. The Kadori family controls the Hong Kong and Shanghai hotels, the parent company of the world-renowned Peninsula Hotels chain. The Peninsula Hong Kong is a global icon of luxury, and the family owns lavish properties from Beijing to London. The family's current patriarch, Sir Michael Kadori, has guided this empire for decades with a steady, long-term vision. The Kadori genius was survival. They thrived under British rule, endured the Japanese occupation, and seamlessly navigated Hong Kong's return to Chinese sovereignty, all while remaining famously apolitical. They built their fortune by making long-term bets on Hong Kong's future when others were focused on short-term gains. Their legacy isn't just in their wealth, but in the very fabric of Hong Kong, the electricity that lights up the skyline, the iconic hotels that host world leaders, and the quiet, enduring power of a dynasty that has mastered the art of not just building an empire, but keeping it. From the opium-fueled fortunes of the Sassoons to the unshakable power grid of the Kadoris, the stories of these families are more than just tales of wealth. They navigated the complex world of colonialism to build empires that spanned a continent. They were traders, bankers, builders, and philanthropists. Their legacies are complicated, built on controversial trades, but also on immense civic contributions still visible today in the schools, hospitals, and synagogues they funded from Calcutta to Shanghai. They teach us that fortunes can be won and lost, and empires can rise and fall. But resilience, community, and an uncanny ability to see the future are the true currencies of a lasting dynasty. The skyline of modern Asia is their monument. If you enjoyed this story about the hidden wealth and powerful dynasties that shaped our world, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We have many more stories of powerful families and forgotten empires to uncover. Let us know in the comments which family story you found most fascinating. Thanks for watching.